Welcome everybody to Surprisingly Relatable, where we bring you fun and realistic pro tips, knowledge, and hacks you can use for real to build win-win relationships and make work-life balance a reality. My name is Holly Burby, and each week I'll share with you a thought, story, or self-awareness shortcut that will help you to get unstuck, reconnect to your significance, and get focused and clear so you can relate to the people you care about the most. I truly believe that if we want to live a life of purpose and passion, it's time we put away the fake nicey nice and get to the root of how we can actually connect with each other in our homes and communities. That is how we can all succeed and move toward what we each want most. So if you're ready to be surprisingly relatable and evoke positive change that supports, uplifts, and inspires you and others in the world, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi everybody, welcome back to the show. Today I have a hot topic for you. We're going to be talking about burnout. Now, burnout might be something that you feel that you have experienced or have experienced maybe in the past, but I say this was a hot topic because this was one of the topics that when I polled my social media followers and asked them what they wanted to hear about, this is one people wanted now. Like yesterday, they wanted me to make this episode about burnout. Specifically today, I'm going to be covering with you the 5 hidden signs of burnout because you may be experiencing it right now and you may not even know it. So I'll start today by sharing with you what is burnout in the first place. We'll talk a little bit about how it doesn't even seem obvious to us at times and why that is. And then I'll break down for you those 5 hidden signs. How can we even tell that we are experiencing it on the down low? And then furthermore, what do we do about it? How do we avoid it moving forward? How can we move through this burnout that we're experiencing right now if that is our current situation? So let's get started. Burnout in the first place, as defined by WebMD, because you know what? I thought I would be specific with this one. It's a form of exhaustion caused by constantly feeling swamped. It's a result of excessive and prolonged emotional, physical, and mental stress. And in many cases, burnout is related to one's job or career, but that does not mean that it cannot happen in other areas of our life as well. Burnout is likely to happen when you are overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to keep up with life's incessant demands. I love that this definition highlights that burnout is so much more than just a physical thing. And that brings me to my first point as to if we are experiencing burnout, why does it not get our attention right away? And I think the first and foremost reason is that people think that burnout only shows up in the physical body. We have this idea that if we're experiencing burnout, we're going to have exhaustion. We're going to complete our day and our head hits the pillow and we knock out and go right to sleep because we are just dead tired. And the reality is that burnout is not only something that impacts the physical body, but as I just said with the definition, it impacts your mental and your emotional body as well. So that's one of the first reasons why it flies under the radar, because everyone is waiting for their body to simply just like peter out and be done. And in the society that we live in today, another reason why burnout goes under the radar is our society is a world where hustle culture and productivity is valued. It is valued, it is celebrated. It is something where we are told that if we are productive, if we are contributing, then we are a good person, we are successful, we can label ourselves as all of those things. And so in our culture around us all the time, everyone is set to the dial of go, 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 go. And when we flow with that speed of traffic, let's say, and we also go, 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 and we're moving at the same speed or trying to move at the same speed as everybody else around us, well, we blend in. Our behavior blends in. They are feeling physically or mentally drained or exhausted. Oh, well, I'm feeling mentally and physically drained or exhausted also. I relate. And we don't see this burnout as something that stands out. In fact, it's quite the norm. It is something that so many of us are experiencing that it doesn't draw our attention like an illness would. And it honestly should, because this level of burnout can lead to more serious health complications, can lead to more serious illness. And the last reason why burnout flies under the radar is because over time, we have trained ourselves to have a very high tolerance for that go, go, go momentum and action and productivity that we have created. So because we have told our body and taught our body and treated and trained our body to go with the go, go, go all the time flow, it takes longer for us to start noticing the physical symptoms of burnout, let alone the emotional or the mental symptoms of burnout. Our tolerance to that pain point, let's say, is much higher than it would be if we lived in a culture or a society that valued slowing down, planning time off, taking scheduled breaks, resting, etc. So now let's unlock the 5 hidden signs of burnout, because again, if we have this high tolerance to this productivity, to that level of go, go, go all the time, how are we ever going to tell if we are actually burned out so that we can do something about it? So the first hidden sign that you may be experiencing burnout is a sensitivity to feedback. So even if you are in the workplace and someone is giving you a constructive criticism, or they are saying, they point out a mistake that you made, something of that nature, it may trigger something in you, an anger, a stress, a sadness, self-doubt that normally might not upset you quite as easily. This also can be a factor in the home place too. If your significant other or your child or your partner or your roommate or your friend in your life tells you something you're not ready to hear, gives you a piece of feedback that you're not ready to hear, whether it be maybe you didn't show up for them the way that they wanted you to, maybe you forgot to handle something that they once asked you to handle, whatever that feedback is, even if it is from a place of love and not from a place of tearing you down or making you feel bad about yourself, you're going to be more sensitive to that feedback. You're going to feel a certain way you normally would not feel: angry, upset, sad, frustrated. You'd feel different if you weren't burned out. So just notice your sensitivity to what people have to say to you about things that you do or don't do, or how you are being in your life. The second hidden sign of burnout is a lack of productivity, but not only a lack of productivity compared to how productive you normally are or how much you can normally get done, but specifically a lack of productivity because you are having difficulty prioritizing. When you are experiencing burnout, everything that is on your to-do list in your personal life and in your professional life, almost everything will feel like it is of equal importance. Or it will feel like, wow, I have these 10 things to do, but I cannot do this one until this one is done. And this one thing that needs to get done first feels overwhelming or insurmountable or just in the way. So the hidden side of burnout is not so much that your productivity or your ability to get things done is less, but more so everything feels equally important. And what freezes you, what keeps you paralyzed and disables you from being able to do any of the things on the list is you don't know where to begin. I feel like I have so much to do, I don't know where to start. And maybe an outsider could look at your list of things and very easily say, we'll start here, do this. But for whatever reason, you are having a hard time jumpstarting yourself in those efforts, and that's a sign of burnout. A third hidden sign of burnout is there are more clashes than normal between you and the people in your life, whether that be your colleagues, your coworkers, or that be your family members, your significant other, your kids. You are butting heads more often. Oftentimes, this is going to happen when you are in a feeling of, I feel behind, so I need to push through, or I am exhausted, so I need to push through, or this whole list of things needs to get done. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I could just fall on the floor and go to sleep right now, and yet I'm going to push through. When you are living a life of forcing your way through that exhaustion, you are going to show up in your relationships in your life with your people in your family or in your home or with your colleagues and your coworkers. You are going to show up bullheaded. You are going to show up like the bull in the china shop. You are going to just go in and cause havoc when you do not mean to. Even if you are a person who tends to be very even-tempered, reasonable, rational, logical, thoughtful, that will not be the side of you that they are experiencing when you are feeling burned out in some capacity. You are going to show up in that, got to force my way through it, attitude. And that is what they're going to be clashing with. They won't be clashing with you because you're being the authentic version of yourself. It's like burnout turns you into another character and you almost don't feel like who you truly are. So that's a hidden sign of burnout. Just notice if more of what other people are doing is causing you to become forceful, stubborn, bullheaded, and how do you allow yourself the grace to take a breath, calm down, step back. And again, I'll give you some tips here at the end of how to work through those burnout moments. Number 4, hidden sign that you may be experiencing burnout is you're making careless mistakes that you normally don't make. And I'm not saying that these mistakes are going to be huge things, but they're things that typically you would not miss. It could be something very small, like it's the 3rd of the month and you were supposed to pay your mortgage on the 1st and you forgot, and you never forget. Or maybe you're sitting at work and you are supposed to pick up your kid from school at 5:30 and it's 5:45 and you completely spaced out. You're so distracted. You're so in like focused and consumed by what's in front of you. It missed the mark. So it's little forgetful things that typically you do not forget. It also could be a careless mistake, like you hit reply all on an email when really you should just hit reply. Or you're driving home from work and you realize you didn't plan dinner or you need to go to the store. And this is something that you typically would not miss the mark on. This just out of sort behavior for you. You're making careless mistakes, missing the mark, little mistakes, and going, gosh, what is wrong with me today? I've had those days where I drop things all day. And that is one of my signs I've noticed that I might be burned out. And I say this because it's such a silly example, but it's real. It could be something like I'm trying to put my earrings in and I drop the backing of my earring on the carpet 3 times before I even get it into one ear. And then I walk into my kitchen afterward to make a cup of coffee and I get the coffee on the counter as I'm mixing in the creamer. And then I pour my water bottle, and as I'm putting ice cubes into it, I drop the bucket of ice cubes on the kitchen floor. It's those moments where you have this thought of, can I do anything right today? That is typically a sign that you are burned out in some way. So pay attention. The 5th hidden sign that you may be experiencing burnout is self-doubt and an overly critical perspective of yourself. I think it's safe to say that most everyone experiences self-doubt and criticizes themselves to some extent, because criticizing ourselves or giving constructive criticism to ourselves is how we can improve upon how we show up for our career and for the people we care about. I think there's a healthy version of self-criticism to that extent. And with self-doubt, sure, we're going to try new things at times in our life, and they're going to require a little more courage from us when we take these things on. But if you're noticing that all day long you have a filter of self-doubt and a filter of self-criticism, and you're taking things more personally than normal, which goes back to the other point about being overly sensitive to feedback, this may be a hidden sign of burnout. So let's say in the morning, someone in your family makes a comment to you and you think to yourself, oh, I just can't get that right. It's just not enough. Whatever, I'll think about it when I come home. And then you go to work or you go about your day. And as you're at work, you get an email saying that you made a mistake on this other thing. And then you are 10 minutes late for a meeting because another phone call went overtime or because you forgot. And then you realize, oh my gosh, I left my lunch at home. So now I've got to figure that out. And now I'm late for this. If you make these little mistakes and you are experiencing burnout, you're going to start to have a narrative all day long of doubting, who am I really? Why am I here? Should I even be doing this? Criticizing yourself. I would have, could have, should have done this. And maybe you've heard the phrase to stop shoulding on yourself. You will be shoulding on yourself. I should have done this and I should have done that. When you are burned out, you will have a narrative in your mind all day long that goes with that, where it feels like no matter what kind of mental pep talk you want to give yourself, nothing seems to be working or effective. So that is a hidden sign of burnout, when you just can't give yourself a break. And again, show yourself some forgiveness and grace and say, wow, I'm just off today. If it becomes an overwhelming sense of self-doubt and an overwhelming perspective of criticizing yourself all moment, all day, that is a hidden sign of burnout. Now that we've covered the hidden sign of burnout, the sensitivity to feedback, lack of productivity because you can't prioritize, clashing more so with colleagues and people you care about, making those careless mistakes, and generally feeling an overwhelming sense of self-doubt, self-criticism, how do we avoid these moments? Or if you're in any of these moments right now, how do we move through it? How do we overcome it? The first way to avoid burnout and move through it is to be on the lookout for those hidden signs. Remember that the definition of experiencing burnout means that you are experiencing an excessive and prolonged emotional and or physical and or mental stress. So your burnout may not be just caused by an extreme situation in your life, like someone in your family becoming very ill, or a death in the family, or having to relocate or find a new job, or trouble with your kids. Burnout is not only caused by major issues. Burnout is caused by the mundane of the everyday as well. And be on the lookout for mental and emotional and physical signs, hidden and obvious, that you may be feeling it. That's the first step, is being able to notice it and recognize that you may be feeling burnout. A way to work through this, or a tool you can use, is something I encourage my clients to do, which is to do a self-check-in in the morning and in the evening and track it somewhere on a piece of paper, a Post-it note, in your phone, just somewhere. And what I have them do is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I am incredibly burned out, stressed out, exhausted, and 1 being I'm considerably relaxed, easygoing, I feel rested. Use that scale. And when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, how burned out, stressed out, or relaxed am I feeling? Am I a 10? Am I a 1? Or am I somewhere in the middle? And then in the evening, repeat this pattern and ask yourself the question again. Now that the day is done, you've handled your professional things, your personal things. Again, how burned out do I feel? And notice, after you do this for 7 full days, a whole week, so Monday through Friday, and a Saturday and a Sunday, so you have some way to compare your weekday compared to your weekend, or whatever day your weekend might fall on, you're going to be able to track and maybe get some insight as to what events, which people in your life, which environments in your life cause you a higher amount of stress emotionally or physically or mentally. Or maybe you'll notice that as the week goes on, the numbers increase. You're closer to a 10, but when the week was starting, you were at a lower number. Or maybe you have this misconception right now that on the weekend, maybe you think on the weekend you're like a 2 or a 3. But when you're in the moment and you actually write it down and track it, you may come to find out that your weekends may be more mentally, emotionally, or physically stressful than your work week or the midweek. So this can just be a tool to start to quantify, to put some numbers on, to put a measurement on how stressed out you are and how likely it is that you'll experience burnout throughout your week. When you can start to notice it as a pattern over the 7-day period of using this tool, you can then work to avoid certain situations on a particular day. So for example, if you notice that, let's say on Monday, you are the most stressed out, burned out, 10 in the morning, 11 at night, right? Like whatever it is on that scale, and you notice you just feel so much of it, you can then use that information to ask yourself, okay, how can I prepare the day before to set myself up for success on the high stress day? Does that look like getting everyone's lunches packed, all the clothes laid out, gas in the car, leave earlier for work that day so you're not sitting in traffic? What can you do the evening before that is preventative, that can support you in starting to bring that number down on that particular day? But again, use the tool first for 7 days to track which days of the week are the highest stress for you that can lead to burnout that is obvious and not so obvious. And lastly, a really important way to reduce your burnout, to prevent burnout from happening and move through it when you do have it, is to ask for support. Ask for help. And this might be the most challenging mechanism that I'm presenting to you for you to give a try. It's oftentimes for my clients, high achievers, people who care what other people think about them to some extent. It's difficult for them to ask people for help, support, to ask others to allow us to lean on them when we need it. And when we ask for support, it could be anything from asking, hey, can I vent to you for a minute? I just need to get this off my chest. Or it could look something like, I really need to prioritize these things. I think I'm burned out and I'm having a really tough time prioritizing what needs to get done. Can I tell you what's going on so you can help me prioritize it? Because maybe you'll see something that I don't in the moment. So giving someone an opportunity to support you in that way. Supporting you in that moment could look like asking someone at home to handle something that they normally don't, so that it buys you some mental relief. It can buy you some time just so you don't have to focus on that thing, think about that thing, get that thing done. That's another version of support. And of course, I'm biased. Coaching. As a certified professional coach, this is something I have worked with my clients on endlessly. It is something that everyone to some extent experiences, which again is burnout. And so much of sorting through burnout is in our ability to sort out our thoughts, to prioritize what needs to get done, having a person to talk to about why we feel bullheaded, about why we are showing up as stubborn and clashing with people when we normally don't, talking out those moments of self-doubt, self-criticism, wondering why, and being curious about why we're suddenly sensitive to feedback and what others have to say to us or about us. These are all things that coaches can help you with. And so if you were to be my client, I would come to a coaching session, and my job is to hear you out about what's happening in your life. And I am asking you questions that you can answer to get you closer to your own solution. So coaching isn't about me giving you the answers of what you need to do in the moment. That's mentorship. That is consulting. But coaching allows you to bring out that inner wisdom that you already have, that inner solution that you already know, and then just having a space that feels safe emotionally to put some light to that, to make a plan and to have some accountability in having the plan that you created put into action. And that plan can be ways to prevent burnout, to move through burnout that you are experiencing right now, and know yourself just that much better in the future so that you can become the most improved version of yourself. So feel free to work with me. Hire me. You can find my information on all of my social media. It is in the show notes below as well if you want to set up a discovery call. And in essence, the reason today's episode was so important to me, again, is to ensure that you know today that burnout is not always obvious to you. And we want to catch it before it is too late and takes a toll on your physical, mental, and or emotional health to a point of detriment or severe discomfort or pain. So become aware of the 5 hidden signs of burnout. Be on the lookout for them. Ask for support. Allow yourself to receive that support. Empower yourself by knowing you are not alone. Allow others to encourage you, to loan you their courage when you feel you don't have it for yourself. And hire a coach or a mentor, or work with your counselor or your therapist, which is a different type of support than coaching. But whatever it is, you don't have to move through these moments of burnout alone, because again, burnout is relatable. Maybe not even surprisingly relatable. It is just plain relatable, and you do not have to conquer it all by yourself. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you taking the time to hear this message. I would love to know from you, what was the sign, the hidden sign of burnout, that when I mentioned it, you thought, oh my goodness, okay, that is me. And I didn't even see it coming. Share with me. Take a screenshot of this podcast, if you're listening to it on whatever platform you're on, and share it to your Instagram stories and tag me, holly.burby.coaching. I would love to hear your takeaway from today's show. Thank you so much for putting this episode out there, leaving a 5-star review. I just can't say enough about the growth that this show has had in the last month since we've kicked it off. And until next time, I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. And if you love this episode and know of someone else who's passionate about creating authentic relationships with people, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world to me if you help me get this cause and this message out to as many listeners as I can. So please, if you liked what you heard, I'd super appreciate it if you'd take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. And until next time, show love always, in all ways. And may you discover that we're all surprisingly relatable.